Good morning, dear students. Today we will study about types of fermentation. Fermentation is mainly of two types, submerged fermentation and solid state fermentation. Submerged fermentation is again classified into batch fermentation, fed batch fermentation and continuous fermentation. Yesterday we have dealt with batch fermentation and fed batch fermentation. Actually, fed batch fermentation is an extension of this batch fermentation itself, and today we will study on continuous fermentation. Continuous fermentation is a process in which the fresh medium, it is continuously being added to the fermenter. At the same time, used medium and cells are harvested from the fermenter. So here there is a big fermenter and we are carrying out fermentation there. At first we will add some amount of nutrients and this inoculum, that is microbes, into the fermenter, and at regular intervals we are adding fresh nutrients into the fermenter for increasing the growth rate of the microbes. And while we are adding these nutrients, we are taking some amount of used nutrients from the medium. And when we are extracting or when we are taking the used nutrients from the fermenter, we are actually taking the used nutrients as well as some amount of microorganisms also, because microorganisms are, this is a type of submerged fermentation where the fermenter is having liquid media. So in liquid media, the used nutrients, the microbes are all in a uniform manner. So it will be in a mixed form. So while we are taking some used nutrients, along with the used nutrients we will get microorganisms also, and along with the microorganism we will also get some of the products produced by the microorganism. We are all actually carrying out this fermentation for extracting the products or secondary metabolites from the microbes. So when we are taking some used nutrients from the medium, we get used nutrients along with microorganisms and products produced by the microorganism. So here consumed nutrients are replaced and toxic metabolites are removed from the culture. So consumed nutrients are used nutrients. They are removed along with the toxic metabolites that are produced. So the excreta or the waste products from the microorganisms are filled inside the liquid broth. So we are extracting that toxic materials along with these used nutrients. And we are adding and removing the materials at the same rate. So the culture volume stays constant. So inside the bioreactor, the culture volume always remain at a constant rate, because we are adding as well as removing at the same rate. And as the cultures are in a steady state, it can last for longer time and thus greatly reducing the downtime. And the continuous fermentation, it is actually an open system in which sterilized liquid nutrients are slowly and continuously added to the bioreactor at the same rate at which the product is being recovered. So continuous fermentation is an open system. Why it is called open system? Because the nutrients are slowly and continuously added to the bioreactor at the same rate at which the product is being recovered from the bioreactor. So we are extracting some products also along with the used nutrients. So as we are adding nutrients, we are extracting the products also. So there will be a constant volume maintenance. So it is called a open system. And the physical factors like temperature, pH, oxygen, carbon dioxide, etc. are constantly monitored and maintained at required levels. For that, there are bioprocess control unit. They are all automated. So now they will check all these physical factors and maintain them at a fixed required level. Then advantages and disadvantages of continuous fermentation. The advantages is that it is more economically competitive. So it is called economically feasible. And the disadvantage is that since fermentation is a continuous process, it lasts for a longer period. So the rate of contamination will be high. The risk of contamination is high. So sterility maintenance is always a challenging task. So that was the major drawback of this this continuous fermentation. So in continuous fermentation, since we are continuously adding the nutrients for a longer period, fermentation process lasts for long, and so chances for contamination. So each and every time when we are adding nutrients, there will be a contact with the external environment. So chances for contamination is very high here. So sterility maintenance is a great challenging problem faced by this continuous fermentation. So that is all about the types of submerged fermentation. Then uses of submerged fermentation. It is primarily used for the extraction of secondary metabolite that need to be used in liquid form. So secondary metabolite are actually the product that are produced by the microorganism. Secondary metabolite are those things that are not primarily required by any organism for their survival. They can even survive without that metabolite. So such type of products are called secondary metabolite. Microorganisms and plants produce a lot of secondary metabolite, and human beings depend upon the secondary metabolite for their not for their survival but for their benefits. For example, this silk produced by the silkworm is actually we can consider it as a secondary metabolite. Then this antibiotics, enzymes, etc. produced by these microorganisms, they might not be so necessary for their survival, but it can be considered as a value-added products for human beings. So secondary metabolites are those metabolites that are produced by plants as well as microorganisms that are not essentially required for their survival, but they can have some sort of use by humans. So this main use of this submerged fermentation is that we can extract such type of secondary metabolites from microorganisms in liquid form, because submerged fermentation is carried out in liquid form. Okay, and it is used for the production of antibiotics, and it is also used for the production of microbially derived enzymes such as amylases, proteases, etc. So the main use is that we can extract secondary metabolites like antibiotics, enzymes, etc. from microorganism by using this submerged fermentation. Then advantages of submerged fermentation. Submerged fermentation, it can be carried out with minimum cost, less labor, then moderate yield, then products purification is easier, less fermentation time, and control of fermentation is simpler, ease of automation. So these are the advantages of submerged fermentation. Low cost, then less labor, then moderate yield, not very high yield, we can expect a moderate yield, then products purification is very easier and less fermentation time. Control of fermentation is very simple because there is a facility for automation. Then next is solid state fermentation. Solid state fermentation, it is defined as the growth of microbes in solid substrate without free flowing aqueous phase. The difference between the solid state fermentation and the submerged fermentation is that in submerged fermentation the media used is a liquid one, and in solid state fermentation the media is a solid substrate, and the fermentation process is occurring in absence or near absence of free water. That means if the microorganisms requires water for their growth, we can spray water in between, but the solid substrate is devoid of water. And the solid substrate commonly used are rice or wheat bran, and they are being placed as flat beds as the media. And the solid state fermentation is actually an alternative to submerged fermentation. So the peculiarity of the solid state fermentation is that here the solid substrate are used as the culture media, and the solid substrates are devoid of water. Solid state fermentation process. Actually the fermentation process is carried out in trays or drums rather than bioreactors. So here the trays or drums are filled with solid substrate, and they are being mixed with microorganisms, and they are left in temperature controlled room for several days for the fermentation process to carry out. And this solid state fermentation, it is used for the manufacture of food products, pharmaceuticals, cosmetics, fuels, and it is also used in textile industries. And this solid state fermentation process, it has been developed in eastern countries over many centuries, and now it is popular in western countries also. Western countries much more depend upon this submerged fermentation than this solid state fermentation process. So solid state fermentation process, it involves the mixing of a solid substrate with suitable microorganisms and then filling it in a drum or tray, and they are kept in temperature controlled room for several weeks for this fermentation process, and they are most commonly used for the production of food materials, pharmaceuticals, cosmetics, fuels, and textile industries, and developed in eastern countries. Now it is popular in western countries also. Then this solid state fermentation, it is more suitable for fungal growth than bacterial growth. So as we know, fungi, they love moist environment, but they did not grow well in water. But bacteria, they prefer a moist environment as well as watery environments. But this solid state fermentation, it is more suitable for fungi than bacteria, and here it is more suitable for the growth of filamentous fungi, and this agro-industrial waste can be converted to useful products by help of these fungi. So this agro-industrial waste are waste which are being produced from agricultural practices, and industrial waste, mainly organic waste. We can treat both these waste using this fungi, and they are capable of growing on this these waste materials, and their hyphae can penetrate into the inner spaces of this agro-industrial waste, and they colonize inside them, and they will use this as their food materials, and they produce secondary metabolites of human needs or human use from this waste. So this solid state fermentation is suitable for the growth of fungi in agro-industrial waste for the production of useful waste. Then not for the production of useful waste, for the production of useful products. Then uses of this solid state fermentation. It is used for the production of value added products like antibiotics, single cell proteins, then PUFAs. PUFAs are polyunsaturated fatty acids, enzymes, organic acids, biopesticides, biofuels, and aromatic compounds. So these are used for the production of so many value added products like antibiotics, single cell proteins, then PUFAs, enzyme, organic acids, biopesticides, biofuel, and aromatic compounds. And they are also used in bioremediation. So bioremediation is the conversion of environmental waste or toxic materials into useful or less toxic things. So this solid state fermentation process, through this process we can convert. We have already mentioned about the conversion of agro as well as industrial waste into useful products. So by this we can do this bioremediation process, and biodegradation of hazardous waste can be done, and detoxification of this agro-industrial waste and biotransformation of this agro-industrial waste into biofertilizers, which can be used as a soil enricher. So such type of useful environmental activities can be done through this SSF. And this SSF is a novel practice or novel process to generate feedstock for biorefinery process. Biorefinery process is process that are similar to the petroleum industry. So here we are using some biomass for the production of energy. So this SSF, it can be used to generate feedstock for this biorefinery process. So So these are the major uses of SSF. Then advantages of solid state fermenters. We are using tray fermenters or rolling and drum fermenters instead of highly sophisticated bioreactors. So instead of fermenters or bioreactors, in solid state fermenters we are using some tray fermenters or rolling drum fermenters. They are easy to handle and no need of highly trained expertise. So trained peoples are not needed for handling these fermenters, and enzymes formed are in concentrated form and recovery of the products are easy. So here not enzymes, every end products are being produced in a concentrated form. So enzymes, antibiotics, everything will be in a concentrated form because we are using the solid substrate. So there is no mixing of the product with the water. So everything will be in a concentrated form, so you can easily extract the product. Then it produces minimum amount of waste and liquid effluent. So the waste production is very little, and liquid effluent means effluent means the waste water is generally called as, industrial wastewater is generally called as effluent. So there is no liquid phase here, so there is no liquid effluent. Then high productivity can be ensured. In submerged fermentation, we have mentioned that there will be a medium productivity, but here in solid state fermentation we can ensure a high productivity. Then higher product stability. The products are mostly stable here because it is not in an aqueous phase, so it is more stable. And the energy requirements are also very less when compared to a bioreactor. So to maintain a bioreactor, we have to have much more consumption of energy and power, but here the energy consumption will be very less when compared to that of a submerged fermentation. So these are the main advantages of solid state fermenter. Then there are limitations also, since we have already mentioned that it is being carried out not in a sophisticated instrument. So the physical factors they need to be controlled. So there is not a specific mechanism to control the temperature, pH, oxygen transfer, mass and heat transfer, substrate and moisture gradient. So these problems are there in this solid state fermentation, and uneven distribution of cell mass, nutrient, temperature, pH, moisture content, etc. Because we are using a solid substrate, so there is no steering mechanism, there is no mixing of this solid substrate. So what happens is the cell mass can't be evenly distributed, nutrients can't be evenly distributed, temperature, pH, moisture content, everything can't be uniform. Then steady aeration throughout the substrate is difficult because it is a solid one. Then heat derived from metabolism and growth of microorganism raises the temperature of the solid substrate. So that is a very big problem. So temperature control is a big problem in the solid state fermentation. Then the biomass measurement for the microbial growth is difficult here, and growth and kinetic studies of microorganisms are difficult. So these are some of the limitations of the solid state fermentation. Then the Koji fermentation. This is just for an additional information. Koji fermentation is a type of solid state fermentation, and it is being practiced in Japan. And Koji is actually Aspergillus oryzae. It is a filamentous fungi. It is a Japanese and Chinese cuisine. Cuisine means food item. And it is used in fermentation of soybeans. Also this Aspergillus oryzae, it is called Koji. So in Koji fermentation, actually they are using this fungi. This fungi will produce several fungal enzymes which can digest proteins, carbohydrates, lipids, etc. So with this fungi they are making so many products. They are using this Aspergillus oryzae for the fermentation of soya beans. They are using this Aspergillus oryzae to saccharify rice as well as potato for alcohol production, and they are using the same Aspergillus oryzae to produce rice vinegar, citric acid, etc. So with this Koji, that is this Aspergillus oryzae, they are making so many fermented products, and mostly all those things are food items. So that is Koji fermentation, which is very popular in Japan. So it is an example of solid state fermentation. And this is the diagram of a solid state fermenter, and it is a simple apparatus. And here a water cooling in and water cooling out is been shown, because as we already mentioned that heat generated in this process is very high. So in order to balance that heat, a external jacket is being given, and through that coil or jacket, this water is being continuously fed outside, not inside, outside that entire container, so that the inside temperature rise can be maintained to a greater extent. So this is a solid state fermentation setup, and the entire setup is very simple. It is not automated, no facility for controlling temperature, pH and all. So these were some of the drawback of this process. And this is the mushroom culture. We have already mentioned that filamentous fungi can be cultured, but this is the culturing of fungus, these mushrooms. Most of these mushrooms are cultured for using as a food material, so they are edible. So that is all for today's class. Thank you.